There once was an astronaut named Alo. He never boomed across headlines, never captained a flagship, never wore medals. As a boy, he did not dream of planting flags on rust-red worlds. He only liked to lie on the roof of his grandmother's porch and listen to the hush between the stars. While other children counted shooting stars like contest points, Alo followed the spaces of darkness between them, believing the quiet was the real light. Years later, when space agencies looked for volunteers to staff a small orbital outpost, Alo stepped forward, palms open, voice low. They chose him because he was calm, and calm was rare. The station was called Reverie. It circled Earth at a lazy altitude, skimming the top of the planet's blue breath like a skipping stone that had forgotten to come down. Its purpose was not science, not war, not trade. It was a listening post for silence. People on the ground joked that Reverie was an expensive nap pod, but those who had lived inside her knew better. She was a cradle for the part of the mind that never sleeps. Alo's job was simple. Stay, watch, record nothing, and file reports that read like lullabies. Every day, he woke inside a soft gray cocoon of microgravity, brewed mint tea that floated in slow-motion pearls, and greeted the universe in a whisper only he could hear. One evening, when the porthole framed a crescent Earth wearing a veil of thunderstorms, the console chimed. Not the abrupt alarm of collision warnings, not the polite cough of a supply drone, but a single silver note, like a xylophone struck inside a dream. The message that followed arrived in no known protocol. It was neither code nor voice. It unfolded across the screen as a sentence one might find written on the lining of a coat forgotten in childhood. Dear Ilo, we know you love quiet. We do too. We are the thoughts that stayed alive after the thinkers were gone. Come, we are waiting. You are not alone. With love, the light of faraway hearts. Alo read the lines twice, 3 times. He felt no surprise, only the gentle tug one feels when a familiar song begins on a distant radio. He finished his tea, wiped the rim of the cup, and said aloud, "All right then." Reverie carried no interplanetary craft. Its budget barely covered new filters for the air recycler. But Reverie did possess a sleep capsule, and Ilo possessed a gift he had never boasted. When he dreamed, he traveled. Not in the metaphorical way people claim during dinner parties, but literally quietly, as simply as turning a page. He sealed the hatch, dimmed the lights, and lay beneath the paper-thin blanket printed with constellations. As his pulse slowed, the capsule became a vessel stitched from memory and starlight. It did not roar or ignite. It sighed, detached, and drifted sideways out of waking life. The first place he reached was a swirl of pale gold suspended in black. Astronomers call it NGC 4414. A spiral galaxy 62 million light-years from Earth, modest and unassuming. From within, however, the spiral looked less like a whirlpool and more like a hush that had decided to take shape. Long ago, NGC 4414 brushed against another island of stars. The encounter loosened its arms, leaving them ghostly and half-remembered. Alo's little dreamboat settled on a planetoid whose sky flickered with ancient radio waves. No voices remained, only the echo of greetings once exchanged by strangers who had loved, quarreled, forgiven, and died before the mountains of their world had finished rising. Alo sat on a stone still warm from a sun that had set eons earlier and listened. The waves told him small things. How one engineer had sung lullabies to her daughter across light minutes of static. How a poet had described snow to people who had never touched water. How a grandfather had promised to outlive the war, and did. Ilo stored each story inside his chest like pressed flowers. When he lifted off again, The stone beneath him cooled, and the sky thanked him by dimming a fraction of a magnitude, the way a sleeper exhales when a blanket is adjusted. Next, he arrived at IC 1101, a titan of a galaxy cloaked at the center of the Abell 2029 cluster. It spans more than 1 million light-years, wide enough to cradle the Milky Way hundreds of times over. IC 1101 is not spiral but elliptical, a vast bloated emperor wearing robes of old starlight. Its core holds more stars than some entire galaxies, yet it feels hushed, like a cathedral built by people who feared echoes. Alo's vessel slipped between curtains of globular clusters and parked on a lattice platform orbiting a dwarf star that had been ripped from its original home and absorbed into the imperial halo. The platform was empty, corridors humming with a frequency just below human hearing. On a wall, someone had carved, "We raised this place to hide from time. Time found us. Now we are part of the light. You are part of us." Alo brushed the letters with his fingertips. Dust if dust, it was lifted and swirled, forming momentary shapes of faces that smiled without recognition. He felt minutes stretch into centuries, felt centuries fold back into heartbeats. When he stepped outside again, the dwarf star had exhausted its fuel, collapsing into a white dwarf the size of Earth yet heavier than the Sunday. The lattice platform drifted free, and Alo drifted with it, unafraid. Time, he understood, was not a river but a loom. Every shuttle forward tugged a thread backward, and the tapestry never grew longer, only thicker. He left IC 1101 by closing his eyes and thinking of rings. When he opened them, he floated above Hoag's object, a perfect golden circle adrift in emptiness. Roughly 100,000 light-years wide, the galaxy consists of a yellow core surrounded by a blue ring of young stars, with almost nothing between. No bridge of light links centered a circumference. It looks like someone slipped a cosmic wedding band off an unseen finger and let it rest upon black velvet. No one is certain how Hoag's object formed. Some say a bar dissolved, others invoke collisions. Still others whisper artificial construction. Alo landed on the ring's inner edge, where sapphire suns burned gently. The vacuum itself spoke, not in words but in temperature, warm on the skin of his suit, cool across the bones beneath. "I am the ring," the place seemed to say. "I am promise, not possession. Hold me, but only in memory. Everything you lose is everything you find." Alo removed a glove and stretched his bare hand into the stellar wind. Particles kissed his palm like shy children. He felt the ring rotate, slow as the turning of a millstone that grinds nothing. When he withdrew, frost glittered on his lifeline, a temporary constellation that melted against his pulse. Behind him, new stars ignited in the ring, their first light racing outward to notify the future. After the circle came a tail. The Tadpole Galaxy, UGC 10214, stretches 900,000 light-years from snout to tip, a cosmic tadpole swimming through the dark. 300 million years ago, a smaller galaxy punched through its center, ripping stars and gas into a long, luminous tail. Alo coasted along that tail like a leaf on a river. Starbirth flared on every side, blue-white infants crying gravity into existence. He set foot on a moon still hot from formation. Magma glowed beneath translucent rock. The air was thin but breathable in dream measure. He inhaled copper and salt, exhaled questions. "Who are we?" The newborn stars asked in crackling radio whispers. "You are the questions no one will answer," Alo replied. "And you are the answers no one can voice." A meteor shower arced overhead, each streak a syllable of a language older than atoms. He watched until the sky cooled and the moon's crust solidified beneath his boots. When he lifted away, the tail had lengthened by the width of a thought, and he carried its newborn light inside his eyelids like after-images of camera flashes. Last he visited Malin 1, a low-surface brightness spiral so diffuse it was discovered only by accident in the 1990s. It spans 7 times the diameter of the Milky Way, yet shines with less than 1% of its brightness. Malin 1 is a ghost that refuses to fade, a whisper repeating itself across cosmic midnight. Alo descended through a disk so thin he could see stars on the far side shining through as if through frosted glass. Night wrapped him like velvet soaked in ink, only the faintest silver traced spiral arms. Here, darkness itself seemed alive, breathing through the pores of his skin. "I am what you do not see," the galaxy confided. "I am what you feel when you forget to look." Ilo sat on a planet of soot and snow, atmosphere a sleepy exhalation of carbon and argon. He closed his eyes and matched his heartbeat to the galaxy's rotation period, countless millennia compressed into the space between one breath and the next. Cold seeped through his suit, yet carried no threat. It was the cold of deep sleep, of hibernating bears, of seeds waiting under March snow. He understood that Malin 1 was not hiding but resting, gathering its faint light for some future morning he would never witness. When he rose again, frost etched the visor with lace, and he wiped it away to find the stars had rearranged themselves into a softer pattern, as if apologizing for being too bright earlier. At last, Ilo turned the nose of his dream capsule toward home. Reverie still drifted above the cloud-blanketed earth, a speck of silver no telescope noticed unless it caught a glint of stray sun. He slipped back into his sleeping body without jolt or spark, the way one slips a letter into an envelope already addressed to oneself. When he woke, mint leaves still hovered where he had left them, orbiting the teacup like tiny green planets. He collected them, drank the cooled tea, and filed a report that read, "Mission duration, 1 night. Distance covered, immeasurable. Findings, galaxies remember. Darkness listens. We are never alone." Recommendations: continue listening. Controllers on the ground skimmed the entry, smiled at its poetry, and filed it under psychological wellness positive. They did not ask how a man in low orbit had tasted the dust of Malin 1. Alo did not offer to explain. He returned to the porthole, pressed fingertips to glass colder than space, yet warmed by the breath on its other side, and greeted the universe again. "Hello, old friend. I'm back." Seasons cycled below harvest, snowfall, blossom, storm, while reverie circled 600 times a year. Ilo aged slowly in the way of those who measure time by heartbeats rather than calendars. His beard whitened, his voice softened to a hush that could calm alarms. Now and then the console chimed that single silver note, and letters arrived from no sender. Some nights they were lullabies in languages that predated Sanskrit. Other nights they were recipes for soups that could feed memory itself. Alo read each aloud to the dark, then folded the messages into paper boats he released into the air recycler, trusting the currents of the station to carry them where they needed to go. One autumn by Earth's northern tally, Ilo felt the tug that comes to every traveler. He brewed a last cup of mint tea, tilting the leaves so they formed a loose spiral matching galaxies he had walked. He sealed the sleep capsule, lay beneath the constellation blanket, and closed his eyes not to travel but to stay. His breathing slowed to match the orbit of reverie, 93 minutes per circuit, sunrise to sunrise. Somewhere between the 15th dawn and the 16th, his heart eased into a cadence older than stars. The monitor registered a peaceful non-event. Alarms remained silent. When the recovery crew arrived months later, they found the station pristine. Logs complete, tea leaves still orbiting an empty cup. In the capsule, Alo appeared to be napping, a faint smile lifting the corners of his mouth as if he listened to music just beyond the threshold of microphone or memory. They brought him home wrapped in the blanket printed with constellations. Earth buried him beneath an apple tree that had dropped its fruit early, each apple small and sweet like compressed suns. On calm nights, people visiting the orchard sometimes report a hush that settles over the grass, a quiet so complete that owls refuse to call and crickets forget to scrape their wings. If you stand beneath that tree and look up, you will not see Reverie she was deorbited years ago, but you may feel somewhere between one breath and the next, a presence like fingertips against glass, a voice like mint tea cooling in starlight. Hello, old friend. I'm still here. And now you, reader, listener, traveler of your own night orbit, close the book, dim the lamp, let the device cool against your palm. Feel the mattress hold you as gently as a capsule holds a dreaming astronaut. The room around you is a small galaxy of familiar shapes. The hush of a radiator, the slow blink of a standby light, the faint scent of yourself on the pillowcase. You are not stationary. You are drifting at 30 kilometers per second around a star you have never touched. And that star itself drifts at 200 kilometers per second around a center you will never see. Yet nothing jostles you, because motion at such scale is only another kind of stillness. Let your thoughts loosen into that motion. Let every worry become a paper boat released into an air recycler that knows better than you where it should go. Imagine Alo if you wish white-bearded eyes, the color of old console screens. Or imagine someone closer, a grandmother who knew how to hum galaxies to sleep, a friend who once wrote you a letter you keep folded in a drawer, a version of yourself before you learned the word obligation. Picture them sitting at the foot of your bed, not to speak, only to keep watch. Their presence is as quiet as Malin One, as faithful as the orbit of Reverie, as patient as NGC 4414 learning to forgive its own missing arms. Feel the mattress dip slightly under their weight. Feel the air shift as they breathe. You are not alone, and you never were. The universe is not a place but a conversation carried on in lullabies too old to have words. Let your own breathing slow. Match it to something vast. The rotation of Hoag's object, the tail whip turn of the tadpole, the gentle pulse of IC 1101's core. Every exhale releases a small galaxy of carbon and mist. Every inhale gathers starlight that left its home before you had a name. Between breaths, darkness gathers not the frightening kind, but the darkness of deep space where galaxies sleep like seeds under snow. You are floating now, not away from your life, but into its quiet center, the place where lost letters, forgotten songs, and the taste of mint tea on a porch 30 years ago all still exist, intact, waiting. If thoughts arise tomorrow's tasks, yesterday's regrets, treat them like Alo treated the radio waves of strangers. Listen, nod, press them gently between the pages of your pulse. They are not enemies. They are postcards from other versions of you, each addressed in handwriting you once practiced in school workbooks. You need not answer tonight. The Postal Service of sleep runs on its own schedule, and stamps cost only the willingness to let go. Feel the weight of blankets as faint gravity. Feel the warmth of your own body as the habitable zone around a star no telescope has cataloged. Somewhere inside your chest, a small core of iron forged in the death of a giant star before Earth existed keeps your blood the color of Martian sunsets. That iron is your passport to the citizenship of galaxies. It remembers the collapse, the explosion, the drift, the accretion, the long sleep inside rock, the longer awakening inside you. It will remember whatever comes next. You are not borrowing time. You are returning it to the circuit. Let the silence deepen. Let the room stretch until walls are nebulae and ceiling becomes the shell of a sphere so vast that light itself grows tired crossing it. You are the traveler and the path, the question in the hush where answer would speak if answer were needed. Alo walks beside you, barefoot on event horizons that feel like carpet. He does not guide, he accompanies. His presence is the echo of every person who ever stood beneath stars and felt both small and necessary. Together you move not forward, not back toward a center that stays exactly one center away, the way the end of a rainbow recedes as you approach. This is not failure. This is design. The journey is the staying, the listening, the becoming quiet enough to hear light fall. Somewhere in the dark, a single silver note sounds. It is not a beginning or an ending. It is a bookmark. You need not respond. The note lingers like the aftertaste of mint, like the frost of Malin on a visor that no longer exists. Around you, galaxies breathe in unison, a cadence measured in megaparsecs, yet as intimate as the beat beneath your ear on the pillow. You are already part of their story, a sentence they repeat to themselves when they grow lonely. The one who listens is also the one who shines. Let the last of tension seep from shoulders to mattress to floor to planet to space. Let eyelids descend like the slow closing of observatory domes at dawn. Inside, the sky remains infinite. Inside, Ilo continues to orbit, sipping tea that never cools, greeting the universe that never finishes saying hello. You are there, and you are here, in the hush between heartbeats, in the pause between chapters, in the darkness that is not empty but full of faint light, waiting for eyes willing to see softly. Sleep now. The galaxies have tucked themselves into their own spirals. The tail of the tadpole has curled into a question mark that expects no reply. The ring of Hoag's object spins once every billion years. You have plenty of time. The iron in your blood has returned home for a night. It will wake you when morning needs you. Until then, float. Listen. Remember that listening is also a form of love, and you are loved more widely than any orbit can show. The room is quiet. The tree above Ilo's resting place is quiet. Reverie, deorbited and melted, is quiet. The universe expanding, cooling, forgetting and remembering is quiet. You are quiet. And in that shared quiet, travel begins. Not the kind that leaves the body behind, but the kind that carries the body gently, like a paper boat on warm tea, like a star on the long curve of gravity, like a thought that knows it will never be alone because somewhere, someone is listening. Good night, traveler. Good night, listener. Good night, light of faraway hearts. The galaxies are already dreaming you. Dream them back.